shelter in the shadows from the creatures of the night. Tentacles that slither just out of sight. Dark curses conjuring an endless dreadful blight. Beware the evil that goes bump in the night, lest you give yourself a fright with Mystic Moon tonight.
And as the wolf howls, welcome to
love
Mystic Moon Cafe.
Hi, kids.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
I'm sure a few people tuned in and they're like, what am I watching? I love it. I voted for that intro, by the way. That's all me.
Because this episode's about peace and love and harmony.
That's right.
It is.
Blessed be. Well, guys, tonight we've got Sonia Jorgensen with us. Thought we'd talk some. Sonia is kind of a master of many trades and spirit communication, shamanic. Do you still do a shamanic practice?
Yep.
Some?
Yes, I do.
Cool,
Mhm.
cool. And
Mhm.
she's got a big old ranch out in Washington State, and is working with the veterans and the special people and people who need a little leg up to reach their potential. But well, how's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Good.
Thanks for having me there.
Oh, thank you for being on.
Yeah. Miss seeing your faces. It's been a while because I've been busy.
That it has.
Trivia, Sonia was a co-host for a little bit there.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh, I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was on
But,
for a little while. So what can I tell you? Everything?
Sure.
Start at the beginning of birth.
Yeah, so I was born on the Evergreen State Ferry.
She was born at a very young age. Yeah.
I was born on a ferry. I know. Every time somebody says start from your birth, I'm like, oh, it's going to get really entertaining then. And it's just downhill from there. Yeah.
Yep.
I was born on a ferry in the Puget Sound.
So,
really?
That's cool.
like,
Like what?
So you were 1 foot out when they got on the ferry?
How did that happen? So we lived in Friday Harbor. For those that are locals, the San Juan Island is, so there's a cluster of islands, and Washington has a panhandle, and there's the Puget Sound, so a little body of water with a bunch of cluster of islands in there. The biggest island there is San Juan Island, and the biggest town, big metropolis, Friday Harbor. I think they had a stoplight. So we were there, me and Utero at the time, of course. And when it was time to go to the mainland for me to be born, because you didn't deliver in rural Friday Harbor, you delivered in Anacortes, which is on the mainland. It was fogged in and none of the helicopters could fly. So we hopped in line for a ferry, like you do. And I apparently was a little impatient and wasn't willing to wait until Anacortes. So they actually, and of course, it was a puddle jumper. It wasn't a straight shot, of course. We had to hit every island between our race. And so they actually pulled into Lopez and radioed overhead to see if there was any doctors in line, and there was one in the overflow, and they pulled him on board. And I was delivered in the purser's office, which if you've ever spent much time poking around ferries as a small child running amok, it's the tiny itty bitty little office that sort of opens in the big open space with all the seats. That's got a desk and a cot in it, and that's it. So that was the only private space that they could find, and not everybody fit in the room, but me and Mom and a cop.
So that means you got a WADOT permanent discount for the ferries, right?
I get to ride for free. Yeah,
Okay.
the rest of my life. I never
Oh.
use it. I don't know why, but yeah, I can ride for free the rest of my life. Isn't that crazy?
right.
I've been on the King 5 and stuff a few times because the ferry was retired and then sold privately a few times recently. So they always yank me onto King 5 to see what I have to say about that.
Well,
I'm like,
make
well,
sure
you
you
can buy it and give it to me. I mean, I think I have some claim. But
Yeah.
it's cool.
and
You
then
can't afford
always
it.
pitch the biz. Pitch the biz. Pitch the biz.
That's right.
Have
That's
to.
right.
Yeah. I was only born in a hospital. You win.
Boring. Yeah. Then of course the story gets even more interesting when I joined the military. And they, military is very black and white. So they wanted me to list the hospital I was born in.
Oh.
I wasn't born in a hospital. I'm not allowed to say that. Everybody's born in a hospital. No, not everybody.
Not,
Some people born at home.
not
people,
even, yeah.
Like, it was a big old battle when I got into the military too. And so I had to show them my birth certificate. It says San Juan Straits.
Wow.
We're at Western Hospital. Yeah, that's the best we could do. There was a big old debate about whether or not I'm even technically a U.S. citizen because it's international waters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah,
all
I know.
Mommy's Amerikanski, so
know.
I mean, it kind of just
This
gets
whole
inherited
interview
in
took
those
a
cases.
totally different turn, I understand. But yeah, there was a whole debate, but because mom and dad are U.S. citizens, then I became one. But yeah, there was a whole question of well, she's born in international waters. Is what does that mean? Like they were debating this in New York.
I mean, I would have
Wow.
gone with, you know what, give me the Dominion of Canada stamp too. So just in case I need to run across the border.
Yeah, exactly. I need both. I need some Tim Hortons once in a while. So can we just,
Helps.
Same
and then
bits. Yeah, I could
We
have
got you.
vanilla
Yeah.
latte,
coffee
same
and
bits.
come back? I'm close enough. It's an hour drive for me. No biggie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty close.
Cool.
I was just up there. I was in Linden not that long ago, which is right on the border. A couple days ago.
Abbotsford.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
When did you figure out you had medium abilities?
Uh-oh.
Ooh. Oh gosh. Very young. And I would say probably the earliest profound memory. I've had some doozies over the years, but I think the earliest profound memory I have of that is my sister was maybe, oh gosh, I'm trying to figure out how old I was based on when this happened. Maybe I was like 8 to 10 years old. My sister was in a car accident. I was at home with my mom and the phone rings and I just looked down at it and I knew what had happened. And so as it's ringing and my mom's walking towards the phone, I picked the phone up off the receiver. Kids, if you're below a certain age, back in the day, phones sat on a receiver and plugged into a wall. So I picked it up off the receiver. I didn't even put it to my ear. I just picked it up and I handed it to my mom and I said, Laura's been in a car accident. And parents, they kind of, they give you the side eye. Okay, yeah. She picks up the phone and it's a parent, calling because her child had also been in. They were able to get a hold of her. She's on her way to the hospital, because it was a couple kids in the car together, like the whole thing. And so then they take off to the hospital. But the whole time she's talking, she's locked eyes with me the whole time. And she hangs up the phone and she's like, I have to go to the hospital, but I'll be back.
I'm done here.
Yeah. It was the weirdest thing because the rest of that summer, anytime the phone rang, I felt like I was their own little caller ID. This was pre-caller ID. I'm old. So, I was their own little weird caller ID. Every time the phone rang, I knew who it was. And if I didn't know who it was, like a salesman, then I got nothing. But if it was someone I knew, it was just the weirdest thing to be locked into something like that. After that.
You tell me that with the eye thing, and I'm just going as a kid, I'm like, does this mean I'm not getting pudding?
Right? Well, and that was kind of the first time and that's, there's a lot of layers to that of why it was weird. And that was one of them too, is that to get suspicion and judgment, low-key judgment and fear and concern you know, from your parent. It's like, wait,
Mhm.
was I not supposed to do
So
that?
I have to ask, very religious family?
Protestant.
Mm.
hmm Yeah, probably the next biggest event was when a girl got hit by a school bus. So
Oh.
here's your dark and creepy.
This is
I
Final
promise you we have
Destination
dark
gear
and
up. I
creepy.
can't wait for
There
this
we
one.
go.
Yeah, dark and creepy. Here we go. So I get up to go to school that day, and maybe I'm 14 or 15 years old, and so I'm still school bus age. As much to our disappointment at that age, all we want to do is drive. And so I get up to go to school, and I'm like, I don't feel good. I don't want to go. I just kind of have this sense of dread, foreboding, like something's not right. But you know, parents, are you sick? Do you have a fever? No. Well, then get your ass on. Yeah, go. So hopped on down to the bus stop. I'm standing at the bus stop with my friend that lived next door. And I'm like, something's not right. I don't feel right. It's just, you know, and as we get on the bus and as we're getting closer to the school, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And pretty soon I'm going into anxiety mode, and I'm looking for an exit. Like I'm looking at the door at the back of the bus. Like, can I jump at the next light? Like I'm really freaking out. Like something bad's going to happen. I got to get out of here. And I guess it was bad enough I vocalized that on the bus as well. Something bad's going to happen. I got to get out of here. I don't like this. I didn't know what. I just didn't want to be there. And then we come up to the light right before the school, and all of a sudden my bus driver slams on her brakes, and I feel the bubble pop. And I don't know if I can explain it any other way, but that anxiety bubble, like the train coming down the tracks, it just like bursts and it's gone. And she slides those little side windows. She slides her window open. She's screaming at the other bus driver, back up, back up, back up. Your wheels are on her. What? Yeah.
Oh, dear God.
Wow.
What? Yeah. So, you know, everybody's now looking out the windows. There's a girl face down on the pavement underneath the back tires of that bus. I had a whole lot of body experience. Like I traveled with her soul. That's my first real exposure to what happens during transition. And it was also kind of the first time that it really occurred to me that this is not normal and it's not okay in the eyes of everyone. And that's the first time I really realized I need to shut my mouth. Because a girl next to me on the bus looked at me and she said, "You did this."
Yeah, they blame someone, so you said something.
You did it. And I'm like, did I? I don't know. I grew up in a household where you don't talk about those things really, right? So I have no idea. So I kept a lot of that stuff to myself. And, you know, after that, really didn't say much. And there's more that kind of happened out of that whole scenario and things that I got into. Of course, what do? You call your mom. My Protestant mother said, just make sure it's not from the devil. You know, so it's, I don't know, Mom, I don't know how to check that. Do I call? Can I call and ask?
Yeah.
Pick up that receiver. Hey, Satan, did you gift me?
Way before Google. Yeah.
I'm like, that phone's already possessed. You sure you want me? So so I don't know. So it kind of was those things that which is why I teach empath classes, and why, like, so I'll be in Oregon, plug for Oregon Ghost Conference. I'll be in Oregon. I'm doing a speaking engagement and teaching down there. And I always do empathic. I think I'm doing ethics of communicating with spirit. And then I'm also doing an empath class because I didn't have mentors. I didn't have anyone that could explain to me what was going on. I didn't know how to shield. I didn't know how to ground. I was just an open receiver. I wouldn't say I got into demonic possession or anything creepy, but I definitely got, I got kind of unfiltered, everybody and anybody in all walks of life sort of thing coming through. I couldn't really figure out how to turn it off or how to filter it. And so I had to learn those things, a lot of those things on my own, and some of them trial and error. And then had to learn, at one point I just said, I don't want it anymore. And I shut it off. I just put this brick wall up. And then it was when I was an adult that I started pulling those bricks down with a lot of now support and mentorship and guidance, and finding the right people, reading the right books, and having the right contact with people to know how I can have better control over that stuff. So yeah, it was a couple weird experiences as a kid. So honestly, if you have children that are sensitive, please, for the love of God, don't tell them it's from the devil.
Right.
Find a way to support them.
Now, can you see them as well, like see spirits?
I see, but it's a slightly different seeing. So other than movement out of the corner of my eye, which I can't really validate. So I just, because I'm also very scientific brain, you know, I'm a nurse, so I have that whole piece. So I can't validate the weird movement, the corner of my eye. It could have been a stroke. I don't know. You know, so that I don't know, but I see internally. So I see from my mind's eye like a movie. And I can see very clearly. I can see entire, well, I was at, what was one of the more recent ones? I was down in Astoria area, one of the forts down there. And I like to play with it a little in that I need validation for me. And so I'll go to a place I haven't been to before and I won't read any of the signs. I won't go into the visitor center. I'll just walk in and walk to this space, see what I get, and then go check stuff. And so I walked onto this huge, in the military, we called them a grind deck. So showing them my service here. It's a big open field. And so, oh, my image is doing something funny. Are you guys seeing that? Maybe it's just me.
Mine
It's
was
the demons from
well.
hell coming for you finally.
Demons.
I know, right? Screens freaking out.
I hate when mom's
It's like,
right.
we
Yeah.
made a deal when she came out on the streets, and it's payback.
Jake,
Right?
you
My
are
screen is
recording, right?
freaking-
What?
I don't know
this
if you guys
recording.
can see that, but my screen's freaking out. Anyway,
You're fine
I'll
on
keep
our
talking.
side. You're fine on the
Okay, good. I'm
broadcast
like, I'll
side.
keep talking. Things that happen. Maybe the spirits are here messing with me. But I went out there and I met a young redheaded man, and he told me he was very angry and he felt like he'd been wronged, which is why he was sort of sticking around. And I said, well, what happened? Why are you so angry? And he said, they called me a name. And I can't remember the slang term. I sucked at history, by the way, in high school. It was so boring. It's way cooler when you get it from a ghost. I'm just saying. So he was telling me that some other guys in the same company had been picking on him and calling him some slang term for his nationality, for his ethnic upbringing, and that he finally had snapped one day and got in a huge fight with them. While these guys outranked him, he got demoted. It was like a whole big thing. And I didn't know much about it. And so my husband, who's a history buff, I'd gone to him and I said, I don't get it. He looked like Irish. Was that a thing? Were they mean to the Irish back then during like World War II? He's like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, I said, do they have a slang term? It was like a single syllable. He's like, yes, they did. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you know, so,
Wow.
but it may kind of put things together of, okay, I feel like I'm getting some validation then in the stuff I'm picking up, because it's really a thing, you know, that could have absolutely happened. But he showed me, I asked him, I said, show me the time you lived in. And it was like this kind of curtain gets pulled back and I see the whole place as it was when he lived there and worked there. And I see all the movement and the people, and I can hear the sounds, and I can, you know, smell the stuff, you know, like kind of see like this whole, it's like being in an IMAX theater kind of. So I don't see it physically in front of me, but I see it in my mind's eye.
Do you remember
like,
what fort it was?
What's that?
Was it Fort Stevens?
Was it Fort Stevens? It might have been Fort Stevens.
I went there this
It's the
summer
one
and
with
had
the
a
big,
experience.
like, interpretive center there. It wasn't one of the smaller ones.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it was at Fort Stevens. And so, but yeah, so I can see stuff that way. When I teach my empath class, I liken it to recalling a memory. Like if you try to remember back to what you ate this morning, or what you know, where you went 2 nights ago, you have this memory recall that plays almost like a reel. That's sort of what it feels like when I see
Cool.
it. Yeah.
I actually had my daughter had a paranormal experience there this past summer. She's always been like, "Dad, I
Mm.
want to go ghost hunting with you. I want to try ghost hunting." She's 13 now, so we're
Nice.
like, "Okay, let's go."
All right.
We were camping
Yeah.
because we always camp in that area, and we went into one of the I think the really old barracks at the where you first come in to the fort there,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Yeah.
she's holding the iPhone, and we get this EVP of like, "Get out." Well, we didn't hear it obviously upon, so we go in. It's so creepy in this one. We didn't have lights. We had a tiny little flashlight, or sorry, an iPhone light from her, the other phone we had, and we
Mm.
walk through, and we're in there for about 15 minutes. And then I'm like, "Well, do you wanna go listen to it now? See if we got anything?" In the first
Mhm.
15 seconds, we hear it. She goes,
Mhm.
"Was that a ghost?" I'm like, "Absolutely," and he was probably following us. So,
Yeah.
once the gray got off her face, the fear left her body, she's like,
You
"Well, can
know,
we go back in?"
Mhm.
I was gonna say
That's
we
cool.
always need fresh ghost baits for our
Yep.
investigations. Oh, look at that
Right?
shining bright life
Yes.
force. Yes.
That one isn't jaded and tainted like those older.
That's
They're
right. I'm
Yeah.
gray. I'm dingy yellow
Yeah.
and gray. They don't want me. They're bitter.
I walk into some places and they're like, "Give it out." I'm like, "No, I'm not done. I got another hour I paid." Mm-mm. Sorry. You're stuck with me for a while. Yeah, I actually had at Walker Ames, there was the weirdest thing, like the young boy that's down in the basement. Oh, sorry, spoiler alert if you've never been there. I was like, oh wait, maybe somebody hasn't been there yet. When I approached the top of the stairs, it was like a holograph, like someone was projecting an image, a holographic image in the doorway. And I'm like, well, that's
Hmm.
odd. What is? And so if you were looking at me from the outside, you'd think I was spastic. Maybe I was having a stroke. But I'm reaching through it, like into it, because I'm like, this isn't real. Like it's not even a spirit real. Like this, what is this? It's like some sort of holographic image. And he was projecting this big scary image at the top of the stairs that gave people the heebie-jeebies to keep them out of his space. Like, boo,
Okay.
like kind of thing at the top of the stairs.
Like
Yeah, 'cause I opened the door.
a cozy specter.
Like
Nice
the
Yeah.
wizard. Like the
specter.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I went to walk down the stairs and that kind of stopped me and I'm like, what is this? And so I reached through it and I'm like, yeah, that's not real. That's not really there. What is going on? And it wasn't until I, walked downstairs and figured out what the situation was in the basement. But I've had situations like that where they try to like throw stuff at you, I guess, for lack of a better term, to make you uncomfortable, to protect their space, to get you to go away, or you know what I mean? And I get it, just like anybody else. I mean, we have our ways of giving the go away vibe if we need it, to get people to leave us alone. So I have no doubt they do too. But yeah, it was the weirdest thing. It was the first time I'd encountered something like that, though.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you think spirits put up a front like that to try and look evil, scary, or bad to keep people away?
I haven't really encountered it much. That was
Mhm.
really the first time, and this was a younger spirit, so it made sense as a child that they would do something like that. As more, they have more imagination and more imagery, maybe that they pull from.
Mhm.
But I haven't seen it often, but I have definitely seen spirits that give the go away vibe for sure. If they're if they're angry, they're troubled, or I don't know. A lot of times they just want people to bugger
Mhm.
off.
So
I
I
get
have
it.
an experience with this at the same location. Though
Okay.
I didn't see, I got the feels.
Mm.
And that was when you're on the second floor and you're by the
Mhm.
stairs to go to the attic. Once you're in the attic, you're fine, but the
Yeah.
hallway and the
Yeah.
stairs, I get a
Mhm.
headache. I feel like I get dizzy. I want to puke, and I feel
Mhm.
like someone's like squeezing me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spoiler alert, but you can meet this demon from hell by booking the Walker Ames tour. We'll give you
Yes.
contact information.
Plug
Well, that's
for
where.
Gamble.
Yeah.
Plugging all of our favorite spots. Plug for Port
Yep.
Gamble.
Plug,
Yeah.
plug, plug.
Yeah. That the second floor entity likes
Yeah.
to do that. One of
It's
the
just there in that
entrances-
hallway and by the stairs. The rest of the place is
Mhm.
pretty fine and dandy,
Yeah.
but not
Yeah.
that spot.
Yeah. But yeah,
As
a
a-
lot of people in here have issues at the top of the stairs to the basement. And, then I'm like, I wonder if that's what it is. That he's sort of projecting this thing. People are just get this creepy vibe. Like, I don't want to go down there. Most basements give people a creepy vibe anyway. But, I just,
See-
some people are just like,
Yeah, no. So I went with my little army shovel because I wanted to dig up the bodies in the basement. So I mean, I was cool with that.
going in.
Is that a toe? Woohoo!
Well, then you should have gone underneath the post office.
I've
That's the
wanted
morgue.
to, but I have
That's the
not.
old
So this
one.
is like the theater building in Port Campbell,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I didn't know you could go downstairs from there. I've been in the museum. I love the museum.
Have to go in from outside, and
Uh-huh.
they may or may not had it open. So sometimes
Okay.
it's open for people, and sometimes it's not, and they may not
Okay.
have had it open.
Okay, we got a break.
Um,
All right.
Let's do it.
Yep, let's do
Okay.
it. Don't tell Pete.
We'll break in. Be like, what's going on down there? Just nobody but us ghosts.
We left $200 on the counter. Shh.
Boo.
Jump at them. Oh, that would scare the crap out of people there. I have a new plan.
Mhm.
It's totally
Did
me
you-
too. Oh man, that's terrible. Just jump out at people from their own corners just to watch them see them.
Worth it.
Mhm.
Now, did you ever have experiences with your mediumship while you were in the military?
I did.
Yeah.
I did, but I always kept that stuff locked tight. And for the most part, I do. I mean, I'm better now, of course, as an adult of, how to turn it on, turn it off, for lack of a better term, or at least kind of have operating hours, I guess.
Yep.
And because you can't always be that way, I think a lot of empaths would say that it's very difficult to be on all the time. It's exhausting. Plus, frankly, I just have an ethical issue with hearing everybody's thoughts all the time. It's a lot of noise, first of all, but second of all, like I don't need to know your business. If you don't want to tell me, it's not mine to pry. And it's not that I can hear like sentences from people, if that makes sense. But I pick up vibe, right?
Mhm.
I know if you're stressed, I know if you're tired, I know if you're hurt, I know if you're happy, I know if you're struggling with something, I know if you're concentrating really hard. It's just the energy that you're giving off. And if I really were to dig in, I could really get into it, but it's intrusive. And it's exhausting because when you open, it's like you're tuning these, I liken it to tuning a radio station. So you're tuning in and you're trying to get through the static and you're trying to hear the words through the static, and you tune it just right and you can pick up and you can receive pretty well. Sometimes if you're tuning into more than one station, it's just noise, right?
Right.
So it's like, I just have to none of it, just turn it off. When I go into places like Walker Ames or some of these other buildings, and I kind of pull that wall back and I open and I'm receptive. There's a lot of concentration. How do I describe it? It's having a grip without clasping too hard. I don't know if that makes sense. There's concentration. You can't focus too hard. You can't turn it into a laser. You just sort of have to have this general awareness and attention. So you kind of turn on and get this heightened awareness. Your energy level goes way up, at least for me. And I can start receiving information that's coming in. Then I do have to start picking and choosing which radio station am I going to tune into right now, because there's chatter. It's like being in a subway station and there's all these conversations and it's all just noise. And then you're like, okay, well, who do I really want to eavesdrop on right now? This conversation am I going to interject myself into? I don't.
Who's talking to
Hey,
Steve?
hi,
Yep.
you don't know me, but your conversation's really cool, and I thought I'd just come listen. That
Can
cool?
they
Yeah.
tell that you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I kind of do, and again, this disclaimer, this is my story, no one else's. I don't know how everybody else connects, but for me, my experience is all I can speak from. When I connect to a spirit, when I'm not just getting some weird kind of residual or phantom sort of information, I'm actually connecting with something conscious that's interacting with me.
Mhm.
Only way I can really describe it is I see them fully and they see me fully at the same time. It's very vulnerable and naked. Your human flesh and bone interaction, we have layers, we have masks, we're onions. We've got 3 different conversations going on in our head while we're having this one right now. We've got a whole world around us that isn't really open to everyone. When I connect with spirit, they see me, my hopes, my joys, my worries, my fears, my shames, my guilt, all of it. They see who I am and I see them the same in an instant. It's very intimate. You get to know that person right away because
Wow.
they don't have all those layers and shells. It just doesn't exist for them. And they don't see the point of that. Because they see things from a very different perspective than we do. So they don't need any of that. And so for me to be open to them, I have to let my guard down to let them in. That also exposes me to them fully. It's a craziness. It's really crazy. But the cool part, we cut to the chase. There's no getting to know someone, small talk stuff. You just get to the point. You can get past all that because I got that part. Let's get to the important conversations and the real stuff.
Right.
Real
Wow.
talk. It's really cool. Yeah.
Now,
really
how
cool.
persistent are they, or do they?
It
Are they
depends.
some that won't leave you alone? Will they follow you?
I've only had that a couple times. Not a lot. Not a lot. One thing I will give the spiritual realm, again, in my experience, is if you lay down some ground rules, they have to follow them. I don't know who said that. I don't know where the rule book is. I haven't asked where that book's kept. But if I lay down ground rules, they have to follow it. I don't know what the punishment is if they don't. I didn't ask because they've always been followed it. But that's why I kind of get a kick out of some of those ghost hunting shows on TV. And people are like, there's this spirit in my house and it won't leave. I'm like, well, did you tell it to go away? You could have saved yourself a lot of money.
No, they need to get the shot. They need to film.
Yeah. Right? I'm like, it would have been, it's not a lot of fun and it's kind of anticlimactic, but honestly, there's a rule book. And if you just go, get the fuck out of my house, leave, they got to go. Sorry, I just ruined every series on ghost hunting on TV for the remainder. Sorry.
There's
You do
always
that
a
every week
sequel.
anyway.
Getting phone calls from lawyers.
They always come back. Always.
They
Always.
do come
You have
back.
a sequel.
Yes, they have to come back. Remember, I mean, if you not watch the movies, you shoot somebody, there's always that last sit up breath. You gotta watch more movies. Realize they're never truly dead. They always come back.
Unless it's Scream, and then you just shoot them in the head and it's over with.
True. Very true. Yeah.
Repeatedly.
Repeatedly.
Or like Poltergeist,
Yeah.
Right?
they just follow the plumbing.
Oh my gosh. Oh, which is a perfect segue into horses. And
Of
leadership
course, I was
training.
just about to make that pitch. I'm like, we haven't talked biz yet because I'm all about plug
We just
people. I
half
got
an
guests
hour,
on. We need
people were like, I
plugging.
swear to God, she was doing something with veterans and horses. What the hell is
Yeah, it's like,
this?
so Sonia, you got this like Who's and Heroes thing down there under your.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like, what's all that about besides hay?
Besides hay, oh man, I could go on a whole soapbox about hay and the price of hay right now. It is really sad the things you learn about hay when you have horses and just how
And
obsessed you
it's
get
sold
about it.
out everywhere.
I don't pay that much attention to what's in my McDonald's bag, but I'll tell you what, I know exactly. I have the chemistry of the hay that I feed my horses. I have an entire panel on it. It's that bad.
Amazing.
We're weird. Horse people are weird. We're a little off. We were a little crazy. You hadn't noticed yet. but I know exactly how many nutrients and micronutrients for my horses' hay, but I don't care what I eat.
Okay. Well, so I'll ask this since we're on the subject of hay, and this goes into the business. Where do you source your hay, and do you, depending on the type of horse, do you need different type of hay?
Mm-hmm. Right now I'm sourcing my hay from a local grower, Andrews Hay. Fabulous company, locally owned. It actually is part of was part of an effort to reclaim some of the agricultural land here in the area. So it's a pretty cool story. So it was, I believe it was given to him in trust. I have to go back and read the story again, but it was his, I believe it was his family property that was lost or was going to be auctioned off, and the farmers in the area got together and bought it back for him. So it was pretty awesome. So young guy, and just has flourished and done an amazing job. Yeah, so we get our hay from him. He does source hay from Eastern Washington as well, to supplement what he grows. Eastern Washington, for those that aren't locals, again, we're doing a lot of local stuff. San Juan Islands, Eastern Washington hay, you guys got to just come visit. So Eastern Washington hay is typically better quality than what's over here on the western side of the mountain range, just because of the way what's in the soil and the way the nutrients grow. So so we have a, right now I'm feeding an Eastern Washington orchard Timothy mix. But we also add alfalfa. So alfalfa is higher in protein. It's not a grass. Here's your hay lesson. It is not a grass. It is a legume. So I feed them bean, basically.
I did wonder about that. I knew Grandpa grew the alfalfa in one field and then just regular grass hay in the other, and harvested it and fed it to the horses. So
yeah, the alfalfa is higher in protein. It is a legume, and it is harvested damp. All other hay is harvested dry. Yeah, crazy stuff you learn about hay. See, you learn something new every day. I'm sure there's somebody out there listening that didn't know that. So we alfalfa's, because it's a little higher nutrient content, it depends on the horse, but we don't typically feed it 100% straight alfalfa. We usually mix things in. So yeah, but it does vary by horse. I have some old ones here. I've got some senior oldies but goodies that have a very complex diet right now to keep them. Yeah. Oh man, it's another whole chemistry. I feel like I'm in there with my little beakers, like mixing things to figure out exactly what the perfect concoction is. But yeah, the older guys.
With my job, I had to with my job, I had to do a 3-week course on equine care and the standards of care for horses. And Jesus, the food, like just the food, all of the farrier stuff, they're high maintenance.
They are high maintenance. If
you really screw up their digestive system.
Oh yeah. For massive animals, they have really wimpy digestive tract. They are really kind of sensitive and a bit dramatic when it comes to their GI system. Yeah.
It's like when you see them rolling in the dust, you're like, don't do that. You're going to upset your stomach.
Like, don't stress him out. He can't be stressed. He'll get an upset tummy. Oh, don't make sure you eat at least every 2 hours. He'll get an upset tummy. Oh, that's got a little higher protein in it than he's allowed. Ooh, that one's got a few more carbs than he can have. And, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's dumb.
The hay's too yellow. Throw it out.
Yep. We will pick through hay. We are the Karens. I swear to God. When you do hay, we will, like, every bale we're like pulling. We're weird. We'll like pull handfuls out and smell it. Like we're looking for seriously looking for specific things. I'll look for little weeds we're chewing on it. We're doing it. Yep. It's like the sommelier. You go for wine tasting and they're swirling and getting the aroma and they're putting it on their palate. We do this with hay.
Oh my God, you're hay sommeliers. This vintage is not good.
Right? I've had bales I sent back. I'm like, I'm not accepting that bale. They're like, okay, because they're so used to us Karens about it. They're like, all right, another one of them. We'll give it to the cow.
It's like, cow will eat it. It'll be fine.
Cow will eat it. I don't know what your problem is.
Yeah, and that cow will be a tasty burger. So
Yeah. Very expensive cow with the way hay's going right now.
mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got 9 horses on the property right now. 5 of them are mine, but who's counting? And yeah, probably gonna have a couple more here soon too. So yeah, pretty good size herd. I was out feeding them in about 4 inches of snow this morning when the weatherman said it was gonna stop. It became a blizzard, so he lied. So it's good. I'm ready for spring.
Yeah. Yeah, tell us
Yeah.
about Hooves and Heroes.
Yeah. So Hooves and Heroes was a brainchild of mine from many, many years ago. Being in the military myself, being a corpsman, so working in the medical field in the military. Then when I got out and went to nursing school, I actually started working for the VA, and really got an understanding of what goes on for veterans, in particular in the arena of PTSD. After working for the VA, was really when I kind of started to get this idea that I wanted to have something to give back, and I wanted it to be with horses. I've had horses growing up, being an empathic child, being a child who had some struggles growing up, and as we all do in family dynamics. Horses were my therapy and my escape, and there's something very mystical and magical about horses.
Mm-hmm.
From a woo-woo side of things, they really are. They're not fully present here in the physical plane. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but there's a spirituality to horses as well, where they see through you, and they have a sense, and they have. I kind of liken it to dolphins and sonar. Like, they have these capabilities that we have yet to identify how they are doing it or where they're coming from. The HeartMath Institute is starting to do some research on the electromagnetic field around our heart space, that our heart gives off an impulse, and that theirs is just like huge, and they can feel us like 30 feet up. And they're hypothesizing that in herds, when the horse that's sentinel at the moment, kind of keeping a lookout for danger, if their heart rate suddenly changes, it's that signal that tells the herd that there's a reason to run, that they don't even have to say anything, change anything, just their heart shifting, going, oh shit. Everybody else feels it and goes, oh shit, and they'll take off. So there's some science behind that they're starting to look into, that might be a piece of it. But having a prey animal, for humans, horses are fascinating just because they're huge, but they're not a predator. They're prey, which for us is different in the way that our brains are wired. We're all mammals, but it's very strange to us that something so large and intimidating would not be a threat to us, but yet they can be. They prefer to run, but they will fight if they need to, and they can do serious damage. And that, obviously creates healthy fear for many people to be around them. At the same time, they're such sensitive and attuned creatures that they know they can hear us and see us and feel us underneath all those, as I was talking about earlier, those 2D, flesh layers. They can really truly see who we are, and they know what we need, even if we don't. It's the craziest. Like, I will see my horses. Horses I have out here I've had for 10 plus years. I will see them interact with someone in a way I've never seen them interact before, ever. It just, and which is why, I'll go out there with somebody and I kind of refrain from giving big stories about who my horses are, because they may be a totally different relationship to someone else than they are to me. So I try to avoid, building these big stories around who they are. And so then people have this inherent bias when they walk in. If I don't really tell them much, they're going to be able to build that relationship themselves. But with Hooves and Heroes, we're doing I'm doing some trauma-informed training, and I'm using some methods that we use with horses to help them reset their neurologic system. Horses that have been through trauma, or as a fight or flight animal, they get into the sympathetic nervous system quickly. So they go from calm to panic like that. And veterans and first responders can relate to that. So partnering up individuals who have a kind of a hair trigger nervous system with an animal that also has a hair trigger nervous system can actually be beneficial for both. The horse has to stay below that sympathetic nervous system to learn, to sleep, to eat, to procreate, to whatever, just like humans. And so we work with the veterans and the first responders to how to work with the horses to create a relationship and a bond with that horse, and how to do it in a way that is below that sympathetic nervous system. And we teach them methods of interacting with the horses to, there's a gentleman called Jim Masterson, and he has a thing called the Masterson method. And it is a way to, it's not really body massage, but it's more of manipulation, and it's all about resetting the nervous system of the horse. And you work along the same meridians as you would as if you're doing acupuncture or acupressure in Chinese medicine. The goal is for them to relax and release trauma, because it's just like humans. We hold trauma in certain parts of our body. Horses will carry it, and as a prey animal, they can't show pain, they can't show fear.
Right.
They have to hold it inside. And so they'll lock it in, and they'll start to have, soreness or stiffness or joint problems. And this method helps them release not just the joint, but the trauma that's associated with it. And it's all done in a way that keeps them from re-experiencing the trauma. We don't want them to get back into that state of trauma. We want to keep it under that sympathetic nervous system and not push them back into re-experiencing the trauma. And so by teaching veterans and first responders how to do this with horses, there is an inherent reflective experience for them as well. They pick up those same methods. You have to breathe the same way. You have to come in. You have to be congruent and aware of your own state. You have to understand how to recognize the signs when a horse is starting to get nervous. And that in turn helps the individual recognize it within themselves. It's so much easier if you have your own trauma to help someone else with theirs than to talk about your own. This isn't talk, I'm not a therapist. This isn't talk therapy. This is come out and have an experience with a horse, and what happens, happens. I'm not putting an expectation on you that you have to succeed at anything. I'm not telling you that you're broken. I'm not, it's not a, you have to come here because you need to be fixed. It's none of that. It's just, hey, show up, hang out with a horse, let's see what happens. Do we have some framework around that? Sure. But I also go off script, because if that's what needs to happen, that's what happens. So it's whatever experience is needed at the time. And it's different for veterans with PTSD than it is for first responders. First responders are re-experiencing it real time. We've talked about also not just veterans, but active duty military as well, because you're in it. And so that's a lot of similar modalities, but there's definitely a difference between something that's sort of hardwired that you've had from the past that you're re-experiencing in the present, but it's not currently occurring, versus someone who's going through something that is currently truly occurring, and it's going to happen again when they go back to work tomorrow. Right? So slightly different groups. And for right now, we're keeping them a little separate. We're approaching them slightly differently, because the coping, although a lot of the same fundamentals, they may just need slightly different coping tools. But it's really about building resiliency and giving them a toolbox. First, we have to get back into our bodies. And that can be the hardest part for most people that experience trauma, is to begin to recognize I'm having an emotion. Like sometimes they're so cut off because you have to. None of this is wrong, by the way. None of it's bad or wrong. You have to. It's survival. Your body is a beautiful design, and it's done it on purpose to protect you. But to be able to understand when you need the tool, you have to start to be able to even recognize, am I having an emotion right now? Am I having a somatic response? Am I having a physiological change? Sometimes we don't even know. So that's kind of the first step. And the horses tell you if you are. You can be in an arena or round pen with a horse and be perfectly calm and grounded, but then somebody says something that might be triggering, or you recall a memory and your heart rate changes. That horse is going to respond instantly to that change, and you're going to see it real time. You're going to see that horse change, because the horse is going to go, why are we freaking out? Should I freak out? I feel like we should. Oh, you're freaking out. You're starting to freak me out. Why are we freaking out? And you can, so you have a visual cue of like, oh, the horse is changing. Does that mean something's happening to me? And then you can kind of take a minute and be like, let me check in. Oh yeah, I guess something is happening for me. I mean, even that simple sometimes is all it takes. So yeah, it's obviously I can go on and on about this. But yeah, that's kind of where we're going with that. And you know, kind of tying back into like the mediumship work and the empathic stuff. Horses are naturals at that. And I use my skill set in that way, in that triad, by being able to sense when there's a shift so I can help guide, right? So I can sense when the horse is changing physiologically. I can sense when the other human is changing physiologically. And then I can keep my eye out for when I need to bring attention to something, right? Like, did you notice what the horse just did? How did that feel for you, right? And I'm picking up on that, and I'm becoming sensitive to that. And in the Masterson work, we were almost training people to get in touch with their empathic side, because it's a lot of feel. It's a lot of feel, and starting to notice the change in the horse physiologically before you see a physical change. Like before you hit the sympathetic, you feel that shift and you need to bring it back down. And so we're almost training empaths in a way, which probably just took my attendance down to 0. But there's some woo-woo in there, but don't tell. But yeah, so we're trying to train people to get in touch with that side of themselves a little bit. Yeah, to really start to use that sense that everybody has. Just some of us work the muscle and some don't, and being able to tap into that side. Yeah.
Now, cool. Will you bring like service animals, service dogs in as well, because they have a whole lot of that same radar, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, we haven't talked about doing it with service dogs. I know there are groups that do, which is amazing. However, if a veteran or first responder has a service dog that they use now, they're absolutely welcome to bring them, of course. But we don't have a program like that yet, but that would be awesome in the future to do that for sure. We're dog people. Jake and a few of my dogs had cameos before we started. I brought a few of them in to say hi to them. We are definitely dog people here, so yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah.
Doggy show and tell.
Doggy show and tell. Yeah.
Lovely.
Awesome.
Now, spirit to spirit, what do you have going on there?
So that's that was kind of the first my first step into partnering with horses, and that is leadership training primarily. So my, like, I don't know, it was Jake or somebody saying all of the things that I do, of all the colors of the rainbow for Sonia here. So I think we checked off born on a ferry, medium, nurse, military, right? In that, so in that is leadership. So woven through those experiences is leadership. And my master's degree is in clinical systems leadership with a nursing, science and nursing background. So basically that's fancy speak for I can lead teams of nurses. So I've been running medical facilities for many years, and just recently transitioned from my full-time job as a CAO for a clinic and surgery center into this. I took the leap and I said, I'm going to do this full-time, and stepped out of that job. So, which is super scary, by the way, a little bit of what's going on. But this is important work to me, and I'm super passionate about it. And I need to be able to give it 100%. I can't do that while I'm holding down a job of that magnitude. But Spirit to Spirit is it's leadership training primarily built for new leaders, brand new and emerging leaders. I think everybody's got a bad boss story. And I think my soapbox on all this is we go to school to be an accountant. We go to school to learn how to drive a truck. We go to school to, I don't know, answer phones if we need to. But no one ever puts you in school when they move you from your desk job to leading a team.
Right.
They just assume, oh, you're really good at spreadsheets? Well, then you can manage people. Not
Wait a minute.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally different job, totally different classification,
Okay, then.
extremely different set of skills, right? Like,
Mhm.
that is not the same thing. And then people wonder why they fail. Like, we promote people to their first level of inadequacy. Like, oh, you're great at that. Let's move you up. Oh, you're great at that. Let's move you up. Oh, you're great at that. Let's move you up. Oh, you're great at that. I moved you up, and now you suck. And what happened?
You're fired.
You're fired, right?
Mhm,
Well, you didn't
mhm.
give them anything. You didn't give them any tools. You didn't train them to do that job. Leadership is its own job. It's its own
Mhm.
classification. It needs its own training, and we don't do that. Or we give it to them when it's too late. We put them in a leadership role, and then they start to fail. And then we're like, you should probably take some classes on how to communicate with people because you kind of suck at it. Well, thanks.
Wait a minute.
Appreciate that. Yeah, or gosh, your entire team just quit on you because you suck at being a leader. Well, nobody told me how to in the first place, right?
And I
So
wasn't
everybody's
born
got a
naturally to it. Mhm,
Yeah, everybody's got a story about a bad boss.
mhm.
But for my money, they're not bad people. They just weren't given the right skill set. And not everybody's built for every job, that's for sure. But 9 times out of 10, it's just a lack of knowledge and training. I can teach people how to be good leaders. I can mentor them. I can help them with that. And so working with horses in herds are just like people in teams.
Mhm.
Horses, herd dynamics, they are a ecosystem of their own. And it's in a herd of horses, for it to stay alive and healthy and find food, water, and shelter, to reproduce, to not die, to not get eaten by a pack of wolves or whatever, they have to have a healthy dynamic within the herd. They have to be able to communicate. They have to be able to fend for themselves. They have to be able to take care of their young, right? There are things that have to happen for that herd to stay healthy. Those are the things that the herd has to teach humans on how to be a healthy herd and how to be a healthy team. That a lot of the things our higher functioning brains overcomplicate things in a lot of ways. Everybody's favorite is drama. We love drama. Oh my God. Like, oh, do we love drama? So horses don't do drama. They don't do ego. They don't have any of that. And so they live in the moment. And when the moment passes, it's gone. And they have an expectation of how you should be as a member of their team. But they allow you the space to be that member. And as humans, we don't necessarily give people that kind of space and time. We don't give people the benefit of the doubt. We don't set a boundary and hold it, first of all. And then we don't allow that person to make that decision of whether or not they're going to work within that boundary. And then we don't let it go. So if someone crosses a boundary, we remind them of the boundary. They step back outside of it. Then it's off to the water cooler. Oh my God, did you see what Susie did? We didn't just let her get back into her space and move on with life. So, there's a lot we can learn from how horses work together in herds, and learn to coexist. And it's about shared leadership. It's not a hierarchy. It's not top down. It's shared leadership. You'll see horses take turns based on their skill set. Whatever their strongest skill set is, that's the role they take. And then it will shift. Maybe somebody's tired. Maybe it's their turn to rest. Someone else will take up the mantle. There's a lot of collaboration within a herd to make sure things get done. And the health of the herd requires that everybody be responsible for themselves first and take care of themselves first so that they can contribute to the team. We're not so good at that either. So yeah, so there's a lot that herds can teach us. And then I take it a step further and we spend time on us and our stuff. And I help people. I have 4 main leadership styles that over the years I've realized I kind of carry around inside of me. And it's not black and white. I don't just use a single leadership style all the time. It's situational. It, you know your audience kind of stuff too. And it's a bit of a recipe. I take a little bit from this and a little bit from that. And I might sandwich some things where I start with here and I move to this one and then I slide back to that one. So it's very fluid, dynamic. But I do that all through the lens of what I call the narrator, which is my experiences, my perspective, and my views, and my biases, my narrative. So that's how I pick and choose what I use. That's how we all pick and choose what we use. Mm-hmm. And so we spend some time, quite a bit of time, on the narrator role and our biases and our perspectives on the world. We spend a lot of time on what we used to call masculine and feminine energy, but we now call directive and receptive energies. So we spend a lot of time talking about who we are naturally and inherently. And then a lot of people are rather surprised sometimes to find that it varies. Shocker. So we may have a masculine or feminine or directive or receptive set point at home that's different when we're at work. And that's by design. Again, that's not a bad thing or negative thing. It doesn't mean that we don't know who we are. But by design, there are things I'll do at home I won't do at work because I probably end up in HR or fired. So we have to be different people, right?
Right.
We're a little different in different settings. So you learn about yourself quite a bit in the leadership training that I do about where you sort of inherently fall naturally, where you slide to based on situations and scenarios, what you lean on the most in these environments. And then we take that, and my style of teaching is a little different in that I do a little bit of lecture on that stuff. Then we figure out where we're at. Then we reflect. We do a lot of reflection. So I like to go deeper. So if you're very strongly what I call a motivator, so there's 4 different leadership styles, and motivator is one of them. That's kind of like the cheerleader. We all remember boss stories of, you got this, you can do this, come on, you got it, come on, guys, you got it, go team, right? If that's your like major style, and you're super weak in the nurturing side of things, I understand, that's really hard, you're right, I get it, that's tough, you know what, you're right, why don't you take off early today, go take care of it, it's no problem. If you're super weak there, why? The hard ones for people is the difference between the nurturer and the navigator, the like classic, neoclassic leader of forward march, charge, the standing at the bow of the ship, pointing the way, classic leadership perspective. There's usually a big difference between that one and the nurturer. And people that are strongly on one end of the spectrum or the other of those two really struggle to see the benefit of the other one. And that is where I spend the time. Because at the end, you can be balanced in all of them. And none of them are wrong and none of them are negative. So if there's a visceral response, that's what we start to pick apart. Why? Have you had a bad experience? What about it makes you uncomfortable? Where do we go from here as far as getting well-rounded in all of those and seeing the benefit of each of them and where they might come into use and seeing how they all fit together is really key. A lot of people have, when I first start talking about directive and receptive energy, they go, yeah, okay. When I talk about each of the leadership styles individually, they're like, I can see that. Yeah, that's cool. But then we practice with the horses. So then I take it all together and I bring them together in a group. And I have them start out in their dominant leadership style, moving the horse, without touch, without voice. You have to get the horse to move with that leadership style. Then I have them try it with their weaker one. Then I have them be the narrator, and they stand in the middle and they tell others what to do. they're observing the horse's behavior and they're deciding, do I need more nurturer? Do I need more navigator? Am I going to need more motivator? What's going to help this horse move? And they start pulling and pushing on each of those and doing a little bit of a marionette. And then they realize, there it is. And they have this aha moment and they realize all 4 are needed at all times. It's at what dose? So they kind of start to figure that piece out. Like I'm talking to an employee that has a attendance issue, right? I'm going to start out with boundaries and expectations and standards. I might move into motivator or nurturer a little bit if I hear this sob story about, their kid and getting them on the bus and the challenges that they have, their special needs, and there's no one else at home to help them. And so now you're shifting out of that and you're shifting into nurturer, right? And then you might have to shift over to motivator. Like you can do this, right? You're shifting through one conversation with one person, you shift. And I think that fluidity is what we don't teach people. Like I could take them to leadership school and we could talk about budgets and how to do payroll. Oh my God. You can get that in college for a lot of money. Now, if you want to pay me that much money, I will teach you spreadsheets. No problem. Like, we will do Excel all day long. You like pay me college rate. I don't do that. I teach leadership skills. I teach life skills. And so I've actually had people take this course from me that aren't in a leadership role, but either plan to be in the future or want to be, or they just want some personal leadership help with how they manage their life and their home and their relationships with their spouse and their children. It helps everybody to kind of figure out, how am I coming across? How am I seen? What kind of energy do I lead with? How am I being perceived? What biases do I hold? What narratives do I have about the other person? Am I going in with a preconceived idea? I mean, it's all stuff we cover. And, relationships and leadership, that's pretty much hand in hand. A lot of counseling too, because of that drama thing in it. Oh, man. A lot of that. But yeah, it's just people training. It's really people training. But yeah, the big soapbox is just that so many people get put in leadership positions with no clue how to do that. And it's not fair. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to their team that they're not given any training. I mean, shameless plug. If you own a company out there, send me your leaders. They need help. Trust me, it'll make your life a lot easier. They won't be in your office. You won't have to turn over staff that much, and it's going to save you a lot of money in the long run. Because it's crummy leadership, as we know, leads to low morale in teams, which leads to extremely low productivity and costs companies millions of dollars. So I can fix all that for you.
Ooh.
Or
Perfect.
if you're a veteran first responder, we have a program for you for that too. And if you need leadership skills, we'll do that. Yeah.
Now, do you still have time to do your the band that you sang?
Yeah. So a little bit. I know, I'm super busy. A little bit. So we're practicing. We're still kind of low key right now post COVID. But we are practicing once a week right now, just kind of getting back into the habit of it, getting back into the groove. It's a little tough because we're all originals. We don't do a heck of a lot of covers. And so it's kind of a getting back into it. We're like, what did we say we were going to do here? It's not like I can go back and listen to a recording from some famous artist and go, oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that turnaround. Now we're like, what did we say we were doing? That was 3 years ago. Like, I don't know. I didn't write it down. We just did it. So yeah,
I slept once
a little bit of that.
then. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've written new stuff, so we're working through a lot of new stuff, which, when it's original stuff, it's a little tricky at first to get it all worked out. But we've been playing music together for so many years. Like, we're just such a Loctite team that we had one song we wrote in 10 minutes. I mean, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
Nice.
Like, we've been playing together for so long. I literally just sat down. I'm like, there's this tune that's been stuck in my head for forever. And I played it on the keyboard. And Dan's like, oh, hold on a minute. And he picks up his viol and he's like, what about this? Would that go? I'm like, that's perfect. And Manfred picks up his guitar and he's like, I think I can follow that. So then when we just start noodling around and I'm like, I think I could write some lyrics. Hold on. And I just start writing some shit down. And I'm like, holy crap, we got a song. 10 minutes. Done. Everybody go home. We're done. I think crazy. But we've been playing music together for, 10 years or more. So you
Awesome.
kind of get that one. But yeah, it's a really cool group. Yeah,
Sweet.
lots of hobbies. I don't sleep. I caffeinate because I know that's the next question.
All the caffeine.
Sonia's a nurse. She can hook it right into the main
The
vein
big
there,
one,
and
yeah. Green tea. Yeah. Yeah. What else can I tell you? Horses. My favorite.
Were you involved in the rodeo when you were younger? Did I
Mhm.
see that in some postings
Mhm.
or something?
I was the rodeo princess.
Oh.
Yeah, rodeo royalty for, gosh, we did that for 3 years or so. I think I was in rodeo royalty, and I got to go back last spring as a fossil princess, as we're called, and be in the parade. And we didn't do grand entry that last year, but there's been years where we've done grand entry, which is where you go on horseback and you gallop around the perimeter and back out, doing your rodeo.
Oh, I forget. You do have to explain. A lot of people don't know.
Yeah. Some people don't know. If you're not from a small town like us here, folks.
Or Kansas City, where we used to have, we still have the American Royal, but like Grandpa and the sheriff's posse rode grand entry every year, and that was cool.
It's quite the to-do.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fashion show of the rodeo world, I swear.
Yes.
Many years I did grand entry carrying sponsor flag or carrying between every it's like, you know what it reminds me of? Wrestling and the chick with the little like number.
Oh, yep.
Right. So in between, when we move from steer wrestling to team roping or to bull, somebody rides out and gallops around with a flag that, in case you didn't know, we're now going to do bull riding. So we do that a lot. We carry the flag around, run around in circles. So there's a lot of running around in circles. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was a good time. I don't do much of that anymore. I'm old now. It hurts. I used to work with horses we used to call it breaking horses. We don't call it that anymore. But I used to work with horses with troubles, right? And people troubles usually. Yeah. And I've hit the dirt my fair number of times.
Oh, yeah.
And now it hurts. And it continues to, which is really weird. Like 2 days later,
but now,
why
no.
is it still hurting? It shouldn't hurt anymore. It's weird. I actually went into the doctor the last time I got buffed off. I went in because I tweaked my back, and I just wanted to make sure. Typical cowgirl BS. I didn't honestly care that I was hurt. I just needed to get back in the saddle, and I needed to know, did I slip a disc or did I pull a muscle? If I pulled a muscle, I'm getting back in the saddle. If I slipped a disc, I'll give it another week. I think it might be a nursing disease. It's also a nursing disease. But so I went in just to have them just check to make sure that my back's cool. Because if it's cool, I gotta ride. If it's a slip disc, I don't want to be paralyzed. So let's check it out. And of course, I get this letter from my insurance company because they think it's domestic abuse. Because I've been in for concussions, for neck injuries, for hand injuries, for back injuries. No. Like, I have horses. Would you like to see a photo of the culprit? I've got like 25 of them on my phone because we love them anyway. Talk about a broken and unbalanced relationship. It's between me and my horse. So yeah, I can show you the asshole who threw me in the dirt. Yeah. He's about 1,200 pounds. Yeah. So there's been a few of those times, and I'm kind of at a point where I think I'm done being thrown in the dirt. My tuck and roll is a little stiffer than I used to be really good at being able to tuck and roll and pop back up on my feet all in one fluid motion. It doesn't move as fast now. I don't know what happened.
I watched one time, get bucked off and land head first in the dirt.
Yeah, those hurt.
Well, and then you pull them out, and they're ready to go again.
Way to go. Yep. I used to be able to just tuck and roll and then get back up there, but
Mm-hmm.
now I limp a little bit more. But we love horses, right? They're
Yes.
fabulous.
Yes, we
They
do.
really are fabulous. Yeah, we do. And yeah, we're doing our so with Hooves and Heroes, we're doing our big fundraiser in May. So all you locals have to come out here in May. We've got, oh gosh, we're doing dinner and silent auction and getting a band, and we're doing an open house and vendors. Like, it's a whole thing. The whole farm will be open, and I'm going to be able to meet the horses and the goats and the chickens and the dogs.
The whole
Yeah,
shebangy.
so the whole shebang. It's funny if people come out to the horses and they get so like enamored and fascinated with the goats, we never make it to the horses sometimes. You want to feed the chickens and play with the goats? Okay. So there we are. So yeah, we're opening up the farm on May 20th, and then doing a fundraiser for Hooves and Heroes so that we can provide services. We want to build a big trail obstacle course out and back, and because we'll go from groundwork up to mounted work, and then from there we'll teach them some maneuvers in the saddle. So they'll have some progressive stuff they can work into, and they don't have to, but they can. We just want to have something available to them to move into if they want. So yeah, we're raising funds.
Awesome. And where can people find more information on all of this stuff if they want to reach out to you?
Website for sure, and Facebook. I'm not super, I don't have Twitter. I remember to go on Instagram once in a while when somebody says, hey, I sent you something. I'm like, oh yeah, I have one of those. Let me go check it out.
Right.
Facebook mostly, because I just use the business suite because it links to Instagram, which is why I never have to get in there. It just does it all for me. So the website is for Spirit to Spirit. It's just spirit2spirit.org. And then Hooves and Heroes is hoovesandheroes.org. It's you spell out the word and, it's not the ampersand. So it's hooves and.
I've been dropping the links in chat.
Yeah.
So.
And then I'm on Facebook. You'll find me.
Mm-hmm.
See my smiling face with Tango on Spirit to Spirit, the little gray guy. He's in a lot of my photos. Yeah. Yeah. You can find me there.
Awesome.
We're taking volunteers and donors and vendors, all the stuff. And if you're in the Oregon area, I'll be at the Ghost Conference in March if you want to chat with me in person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Oregon Ghost Conference in Seaside, right?
Side. Mm-hmm. Yeah, end of March.
Lovely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm teaching and speaking down there, I believe.
Awesome.
It's a good time.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, all right
Okay,
then.
folks.
I was like, and that's a lot. For me. Like, I gave you guys a lot. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions. I think, like, don't answer any questions. Don't be that kid in school, like, you want to leave early? Don't say anything.
That was awesome. I absolutely appreciate what you do, especially with the Hooves and Heroes thing. I think it's an amazing service and needed.
Thank you. Yeah. We did a fundraiser in October, and they're like, you need to go say something on stage. So Melissa, who's my treasurer, I don't know, she may be listening. I don't know, I can't tell. But she's like, you have to go talk to people. So I get up there, and of course, I hadn't really prepared anything. Stand in front of these people, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't have my elevator speech figured out yet, you know. So I'm like, I don't know. Horses are cool. That's all.
There you go.
And then of course I got all emotional because, you know, it means a lot to me as well to do this work, because it's not conventional therapy, and I'm in no way knocking it. I strongly advocate conventional therapy. I just feel like we need multiple modalities. We need more than one way
Absolutely.
to come at this, and absolutely do therapy. Take the medications that they prescribe. Get fresh air. Go for a walk. Eat healthy. Sleep. Keep your stress down. Like, do all the things. Do it all. The best of your ability. Melissa is here. Okay. Just calling you out, lady. So, because she'll correct me if I said it wrong. But yeah, so the do all that stuff. It's very important to do that. You know, I'm a huge advocate for mental health therapy. I'm a nurse, for Christ's sake. That's all we tout. But we also need another way to find connectedness and to go within that isn't so structured that we feel this bias or expectation of the outcome, right? Like you go into therapy with this expectation, or you're put there with an expectation, where there's this inherent bias or a narrative around that. Okay, that's fine, but maybe you just need a day off. Maybe you just want to relax. Maybe you just want to hang out with a horse and not be bothered. We can do that too. You may show up and be like, I don't want whatever it is you're selling. I just need to be in a quiet space with a horse. Cool. I'll come back for you in an hour. Bye. Like, okay. If that's what you need, that's what you need. If you want me out of your hair, I'm gone. Like, not a problem. Right? I'll stand back. So you can only talk so much. Sometimes you need to have a somatic experience too. And so it's important. And I got super emotional because for me, it's if the rate of suicide is in veterans and in first responders is ridiculous, way too high. And that for me is what gets me. If I can help save a single life, just one, then I'm done. I've served my purpose. Like it's that they're doing therapy, they're doing all the things they're supposed to be doing, and we're still having this high of a rate of suicide. They need more. There's something else that they need, that they're missing. And I'm hopeful that this is another something that we can offer that can help people. And I know there are other programs around the country that are very successful with this. And I know they've had really positive impacts for veterans. I haven't found any for first responders. So if you're watching this and you know of a first responder program with horses, please let me know. I have looked all over the place, which is why I added first responders in. This originally just started out for veterans, but oddly enough, veterans have way more services available to them than first responders do. I'm like, why aren't we taking care of them? Like they're going through trauma too. What's the deal? You know, you think about the suicide rates. Oh, Melissa's prompting me now.
I was going to ask that she beat me to it. So there we go.
Right. What can they do to help our sponsor an organization? I know she's telling me. So we, you know, the first responders really need these modalities as well. And it just blows my mind that there isn't more out there, or maybe I just haven't found it, but I've been doing a ton of research and I'm not coming across it. And it's just crazy to me because they go through it and re-experience it every day that they're at work. So yeah, it's important to us that we advocate, that we get the word out, that we raise awareness. So we're raising, that's what the funds, we're a nonprofit. We're a Washington nonprofit charitable corporation. We are filing for our 501c3. It takes a minute. It's a lot of paperwork.
Yes,
so
there
we're
is.
in the midst of that. So it will be active at some point in the future when the IRS blesses us. So for now, though, we are Washington Charitable Corporation, so that is tax deductible. So all the funds that are raised go into providing services, providing awareness, community outreach. We also want to start a, I don't know if it's a sponsorship or what we really want to call it, but a bucket of money to provide supportive services for veterans and first responders if they can't afford mental health therapy, if they need housing assistance, if you know they're struggling for reintegration or a move or whatever. We haven't fully got all of those pieces nailed down, but we do want to eventually have a bucket of money available to them to help with other services outside of ours as well, to give back to the community. So yeah, we're trying to get the word out in the local community, partnering with local precincts and firehouses and Chamber of Commerce and Rotary and to get the word out about the services that we're providing so that we can bring people in for that and really start helping them and giving them the services they need.
And this is Stanwood, Washington?
This is in Stanwood, Washington. Yep.
Okay.
So we are north of Seattle. We have 2 major airports within about an hour and a half of us. We have hotels all over around us. We do have electricity and running water, so we're not that rural. However, plenty of cows. So we're a little rural. So absolutely, we're within easy reach, even if you're not local, you can still get to us. And then on our website, there is a donate button if you just feel called to donate funds towards these services and these activities. It's all tax deductible. It's all a nonprofit. Just make sure we have your info so we can get you a receipt. We've had a few people donate, which we love them for, but then I'm like, I have no way of giving them a receipt. I don't know who they are. So please tell me who you are so that we can get you the right information. But yeah, we've just, I've been very blessed with the people that I have on my team and on the board that have jumped on the bandwagon with me to help make this come to life. I wouldn't be here without them and their support. So I need to give a shout out to my team. They're amazing. And yeah, we're just getting started. Just really rocking and rolling on this. Yeah.
Now, are you set up for volunteers to help manage or muck stalls or whatever? And what might the qualifications be for it?
So I have a volunteer coordinator. I feel very fancy. I have a volunteer coordinator.
I was one of those ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then this is how fresh we are. I just built the intake form for volunteers. And we have the waivers and, so like we're building all the things. So we have it's a Google Doc, so we can send it to anywhere. It's digital. People can fill it out. And so I'm actually working on the website right now to get those forms up on the website so that people can just pull them, fill them out, and it'll alert me and feed it to us as soon as it's done. So that we can reach out to these people for donations, for vending at the event, for participating in the event in any other way. I'm plugging for, what am I looking for? I need a band. Odd that I'm struggling to find a band. It can't be mine because I'm going to be busy. So here we go, right? I need to find somebody else to do. So, stuff like that. So rental companies, caterers, dessert people, people that want to vend, that want to set up a silent auction table, that want to, I don't know, all of that stuff. We're in the midst of pulling all that together. So anybody got that stuff, those ideas, please drop me a line. We do have an email address. It's just info@hoovesandheroes.org. They can email that as well. Or they can go to the website. There's a contact us. And then there's the, of course, the donate button that we love for people to click on that helps us raise funds and raise awareness for that. So, yeah. Obviously, I've been bored. I haven't really been doing anything.
You poor thing. What do you do with all this spare time?
I know. I quit my job and I'm just unemployed now. It's cool. I've had a few people be like, oh, hey, since you're not working anymore, can you go? And I'm like, not working. I'm working more now, but I'm busier now. I have less free time because now I live and work in the same place. It's terrible. Yeah.
You can't call in sick to that.
I can't call in sick to work. It sucks. It's supposed to be 17 degrees here tomorrow morning when I go out to feed. I am trying to call in sick, but the horses aren't having it. So I guess I'll be up there anyway.
They'll be up there knocking on your door. Hey, where's breakfast?
Yep, they're pretty demanding about mealtime.
Indeed.
3:00. Yeah.
All right. Well, have we covered everything, guys? What do you think?
That was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
yes, thank you,
guys.
Sonia.
Thanks for having me on. Absolutely. I love chatting with you guys. I miss hanging out with you. As you can tell, I've been a little busy, so I haven't been able to come.
Just a little bit, yeah.
But keep me in mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yay. Jake, you've been awful quiet. What do you got?
I was interjecting and flapping in the first 45 minutes. Come on, people. And I was given a good 2 goofy faces a minute there for a bit.
At least that was noted. That was noticed in chat. Yes.
You did it. Yeah.
Yeah. One I really liked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, is Melissa a partner or?
She's our treasurer. So she is on the board. She works her tail off. She's full of great ideas. She is a night owl. Which I laugh because us horse people are usually morning people by design. And so 7 a.m. I'm rocking and rolling. and I'll
You've
call
already
her.
put in a full
and-
day work. Yeah.
Yeah, she's not even out of bed yet, so I can't really even talk to her before 10 a.m. But then she'll call me at 9 o'clock at night, and I'm about ready to just pass out. And she's like a mile a minute. And I asked her one time, I'm like, do I sound like this to you in the morning? She's like, yep. Awesome. Okay.
Payback's a bitch.
At
Yep.
least we all understand each other. But yeah, no, her Wendy is my vice president, Wendy Ruiz. Angie Amundsen, she's actually in the program with me. She's one of the instructors, so she's going to be working side by side with veterans one-on-one with me. She is a retired Navy vet herself, so she retired out of the service a few years ago, and so she's doing some trauma-informed therapy training as well, and her and I are going to be kind of the primaries working with veterans and first responders on the ground with horses. Melissa keeps us in line on the books, and Wendy's playing marionette in background, and Caitlin's keeping everybody organized and finding all kinds of cool stuff for us on the web. She's one of those younger generation peeps that gets the computer stuff us old people can't crack. So she's like, oh, you should just go to this and pull this up. I'm like, it does that? God, I feel old.
Hey, walk me through it slowly, will you?
Man,
Yeah.
yeah. So we have a lot of good support.
Good.
A lot of
Good.
support on the group. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much again for being on with
Yeah.
us.
Awesome.
It's been a great
Thanks
show.
for having me. I appreciate it.
We will always know your story of your birth. Always.
Yes. If you can't remember me and what the heck I talked about, everybody just remembers that I'm the boat baby.
Mhm.
That's what
The
they call
boat
me.
baby.
Mhm.
I'm
Boat baby.
Mhm.
a local celebrity on a very tiny scale. Little town scale. The boat baby. Yeah.
The boat
There's
baby.
a few people still alive, I think, that remember.
I know.
She was born on those treacherous waters. Puget
Right?
Sound.
Right.
Puget Sound.
A
Back-
nameless country.
The
the
orcas
water-
rose and sang. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
All right, guys.
Okay, kids. Well, that's it for this week's episode. We don't have anything.
I
Not
hadn't.
next.
No, I hadn't firmed any other plans up. So
I was going to throw down with my home state, Wisconsin monsters. I got
Okay.
the hodag, just so I can say
we can
hodag.
we can do that. We can
do that.
Wisconsin monsters.
We got lake monsters, we got river monsters, we got like things up in the forest. We have the was it fearsome creatures of the North Lumber Woods, if you know those. That's a
Ooh.
Wisconsin, upper Midwest thing.
Would that be a dog man situation?
You know, we could. Well, there is this little beast on a road outside Milwaukee.
Would that be Bray Road?
Potentially.
Potentially.
We'll find
I
out
just got the
next week.
hodag because I'm from northern Wisco. So.
Okay, I understand.
And then you can also look into the Dread Bay Cock.
The what?
Who?
Don't know Baycocks?
Good.
I want to
Spell
say
that.
I just like to say Baycock. It's real. It's real. BAYKOK.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
We've already
so-
covered the W word, so we got you know.
Right,
We got
yeah.
to toss that one. But there's
we
plenty of
won't bring that
critters
one out again.
I can point you to. Plenty of critters. There's furry fish.
Ew.
Classic.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
Anyway,
just hang out
kids.
up here in the Pacific Northwest with our Sasquatch, and
Short squatch and bat squatch. We have many variety of squatch.
we do.
We got all forms of squatch.
I was just
Okay,
reading
kids.
this
So
phantom chicken in
Ooh.
Wisconsin. Sorry, I just had to say that. That's number 2 on the list. Phantom
Oh,
chicken.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Phantom
I guess you're going to do that one?
That'll be one of the. I'm going to do 2.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do 2
We'll
critters.
tear down.
I'll do critter.
Okay.
Do 2 critters. So next week's Wisco critters, folks.
Cryptids,
Woo!
monsters.
All that good stuff.
All right.
Okay, folks, have a good what?
Are we not hanging up or hanging up?
Well, I end the broadcast, but we can hang out a little bit. I just got to take care
Yeah.
of my puppy dogs.
I understand.
So okay, so live show over. It's time for the after party.
That's right. Bye,
Good night.
everyone.